Let's talk about talk. Let's go deep. We all have something to share. KnolShare with Dr. Dave.
So let's talk about cultivating a more inclusive and compassionate space for exploring, you know, our spiritual identity in society. And I don't know if we have a single spiritual identity or maybe there's many different aspects that we show up in terms of our gifts. And maybe I'm framing it that way, that our spiritual identities, you know, I mean, it starts with God, but then He gives us these different capabilities
Mm-hmm.
to be able to show up, so that we could create a more inclusive and compassionate space, so others could also come in and get the freedom and the love and the goodness that we have received so freely. Talk to me. How can we cultivate that?
I just really loved what you said. I really do. What immediately came to mind, Dave, was the story with Jesus and the Samaritan woman at the well,
Oh Lord, isn't that a good
right?
story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, this it was just him and her. And I think that Jesus created a safe space for him and her to have that conversation. I don't think they could have had the same conversation had the space been maybe with even the disciples there, or the Pharisees or the Sadducees, or even other Samaritans from her town there chiming in and influencing the conversation, right? So I think he really created a safe space to lovingly talk to this woman about herself and bring her to a point where she grew, and she received freedom from acknowledging where she was at and knowing that she had grace in her life. And so I think it begins, with modeling the way Jesus did it. He did it with tax collectors, right? He created these safe spaces with which to have these conversations with them. And I think that's so important that we do that, whether it's if you're talking one-on-one. If you want to talk to your wife about an issue, you want to make sure you're doing it in a safe space. Your children, where they're not threatened, with somebody who may or may not be interested in what you're saying. Just whatever it is, consider the space. Is it a safe space that's conducive for the talk or the conversation that really should be had, right? And then I think kind of goes hand in hand with that is that I think that um, hospitality is kind of a spiritual practice in a sense. Yeah, it's creating environment where I think people can encounter, see, feel what I do, and that's God's love through just genuine care. So are we inviting people into situations where they can experience that they, by seeing it, by witnessing that, right? And maybe it's just through, an interfaith dialogue or supporting, spaces where different perspectives can be shared respectively. Um, just simply because it's an act of hospitality. You're inviting those people in through hospitality,
Yeah.
And then I really think that when it's done right, Dave, I think that listening is an act of love. And I think that true compassion begins with really hearing the other person, their spiritual journeys, listening to their questions, letting them talk, trying to listen to their pain or what they're longing for. And I think that when we listen to those, I just think as Christians, especially, I think we can already start to see and sense maybe how God's working in their life.
Yeah.
And maybe it's with a new believer, maybe it's with a seasoned one, maybe it's with someone who's just exploring. I don't know. But I just think that in all those instances, all across the spectrum, I just think that listening really is an act of love. It's not listening so I know what to say next. It's not listening so I can sound right. It's listening to understand where they're coming from. And then I just think we got to be realistic about systemic barriers. And there are situations and cultures and experiences that I will never, ever fully understand because I cannot experience them.
Yeah.
I can read about them. I can watch YouTube videos. I can read peer-reviewed papers. But nothing beats the experience of what a group, an ethnic group, a social group is experiencing those. And I think we need to be realistic about those and not try to make those fit into my little space in this earth that God's given me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes, quite frankly, maybe I need to bow out. Maybe all I can do is just say, you know what, I support you. I would have no reason to doubt anything that you're saying, and I just honor what you're saying. And that's just that in of itself is, you know, my calling. Maybe that's all I can do. But I think we need to be aware of them, and I think we need to take them seriously. And I think we need to understand how we really relate to those. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. You know, God has asked us to go share his gospel. That's what he decided the best way to do. And there are going to be certain people that are going to hear it from me because of my background and my history. And there are going to be certain people that are going to hear it from you, Dave, because
That's right.
of who you
Yeah.
are. Right.
Of course. Yep.
And I think we need to know where those spaces are and be realistic about them. And especially when someone's in those.
Yeah.
Don't come in with preconceived notions and judgments. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah.
said, sir.
And then I think one last thing on that.
Go ahead.
I think that, you know, just demonstrating, you know, our love for everybody without an agenda. People are so skeptical to begin with, but it's like, why are you doing this? It's like, just because that's what I'm called to do. And I'm not expecting anything in return. I'm truly not. And that's just an extension of God's grace, right? We're just called to be grace givers and let people experience that. And so that's demonstrating love without any kind of agenda. I just think that those are the things that maybe, I don't know. I want to get careful here. I think that those tend to plant some seeds that maybe grow into good, healthy things later on. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And you know, and that's good.
Let's talk about talk. Let's go deep. We all have something to share. KnolShare with Dr. Dave.